of you are wondering if I've ever boxed, yes I did, but it was short-lived. On behalf of Kylie and Dundee, I'd like to thank you as well for coming tonight and giving this sort of support. I'm a member of Fitness First because I travel everywhere in my role. People say, where do you live? And I say the nearest airport and hotel. So Fitness First is good because wherever I go I can actually get in and do something. But I'm not here as Deputy Vice-Chancellor. I'm international in some ways I am, because Peter and I found Dundee as an international student in a way, and I'm going to tell you some stories, if you don't mind, a few minutes away from them. I mean, this is a great gym. It's the only one I've ever belonged to where you can eat and drink on a Friday night. But I've heard from the clients that they know that you're doing this on purpose because they're going to put on a couple of kilos over the weekend and have to come back next week. But my background is actually sports science. I was the international president of the International Federation of Physical Education. I was the Dean of Life Sciences at the University of Colorado. So I have a real affinity. In fact, I was the first president of the Australian Fitness Council of Australia when that existed. When personal trainers were thought of, and that's for boxercising. Well, that was, you know, for the criminals down the streets, back streets somewhere. But Peter and I at Dundee, and of course with a name like that his nickname had to be Crocodile. And Peter's going to tell you how it was his fault for employing him. 5 years later he still hadn't got rid of him. But there's many things about him you don't know other than how fantastic he is, because he's so committed to each and every one of you. I've never been in an audience this large where the spirit and tone is all about this person's influence is why you're here. The other great thing about Dundee having moved into this realm is that he's done it. Okay? When he decided that running with the mafia gangs in Korea in the back streets was getting a bit dangerous, and then decided that, well, I've become national Korean champion, middleweight champion, I'll go to Australia and study religion. So the first course this guy ever did in Australia was in theology. And at that stage he decided, because you don't know also, that he's a qualified master chef. And the fried chicken's a prime example of his success in that area. He taught my granddaughter, 4 years of age, how to fish down at the Gold Coast seawall. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. And when she came home and said, Poppy, eat some of this fish that I just caught, but he also taught her that it's best to have your, what do you call it? Sashimi, straight out of the ocean. A 3-year-old telling her Poppy, who hates fish, and I promise you could have my share of that other tuna crap that's out there. But he's also taught them how to make sushi. So he's a master chef, because when I first met him, and I know he's not going to be embarrassed, if you want to know about dedication and commitment, when a guy believes after finding God that I'm going to take off with a knife every bit of evidence of tattoos and get rid of my past life, you've got to believe the pain you're suffering, that's where it comes from.
He did it with his sashimi knife too.
And then I thought, this guy carries knives, for crying out loud, you know. And tonight I walk in, I can't shake hands because he's got a knife this big. And Crocodile Dundee said, this is a knife. But he's a chef. And he learned about marketing and salesmanship and so on. And I've seen him sit in front of an audience of prospective students with a box full of vegetables. Carrots, parsnips, lettuce, tomatoes, half a dozen knives,
cauliflower,
and sell why you should come and study with CQ University, as he's chopping off carrots and fingers with all sorts of different knives. It brings tears to your eyes when he holds a knife and a carrot and chops it off in front of a male. I mean, it, you know, has an impact on you. But you're so fortunate to have a person such as this, and we're really honoured to have been part of bringing Dundee and his family. And I've been lucky enough with my family up here to share Christmas with Dundee and his wife and kids. And whilst he might say we've been mentors to him, Peter will tell you how much we've learned from him. So thank you very much. I can tell you a whole lot more, but you're in fabulous hands. Keep supporting him. And the word of mouth and the spirit among this group, Dundee, is absolutely very, very special. The fact that you live and preach what you do is a real key thing, and we're really honoured to have been part of what's going on. And thank you very much for inviting me. We flew off today, good excuse to come back to the deep of Queensland, from Melbourne, after the storms. But yeah, one day I'll come back and actually sweat with you as well. But congratulations, fantastic work, and it's good to see that everything we taught you is actually reaping benefits.
Well, I'm Mr. Gundy, campus director of the Brisbane campus of Central Queensland University, and my receptionist came in and said, "I've got this Korean guy outside, he wants to see you." "What's he want?" And she said, "He says he wants a job."
Join the queue.
And I said, "Okay, well, wheel him in, we'll have a look at him and see what he's got to say for himself." And he told me about his life to date. That he'd been a boxer and a boxing trainer in Korea, and also had boxed in Japan and China and lived in Japan and China. In fact, he's fluent in Korean, Japanese, Chinese, English. He's got 4 languages. Last I heard, he was learning Portuguese. And he sat and told me about his story. He told me about his experiences in the South Korean armed forces, because it's compulsory military service in South Korea. And I asked him what the sort of rations were like in the armed forces, and he sort of laughed a bit. And I said, "Why was the ration?" He said, "You know, when you're up on the sort of North Korean border, going through the mountains, you just eat what you can forage, you know, rabbits, rats, whatever you can find." And I said, "Well, you know, how do you cook them?" He said, "You can't cook them, because if the North Koreans see the fire across the border, they'll shoot at it." So I said, "Well, how do you eat them?" He said, "Raw."
What is that? Almonds.
So you can see where the guy's had a pretty tough life, pretty, you know, very background. He's a pretty tough sort of guy. Anyway, needless to say, he walked out of my office after half an hour and he had a job. And initially that job was a sales and recruitment job for our campus. He was very successful at that. He moved up the ranks and at the same time got his MBA in marketing, and rose to the rank of Associate Director of Sales and Recruitment for CQ University in Brisbane and Gold Coast. He moved on after that to another university, and proved it wasn't a fluke the first time, because he was also Associate Director of Marketing at that university. So you're in good hands with this guy. I know this guy would work you hard. Okay? I know he would work you hard, because there's only one thing that he understands, and that's hard work.
Pain.
He'll work you hard because I've never seen anyone who would work so hard himself. So I'm very proud to be able to call Dundee a friend. He's been a very good friend of mine, a very loyal friend, and I'm very proud that he's invited me to his opening here tonight, and I wish him all the best in his future endeavour. Okay.
Can I invite my wife, Talia? Happy wife, happy life.
Okay.